If you're trying to decide between the Hard Rock Los Cabos and the Hard Rock Puerto Vallarta, stop scrolling, because one of these resorts is better depending on the type of vacation you want. Ocean views versus swimmable beaches, new and modern versus tropical and intimate, party vibes versus layback luxury. Today, we're putting it head to head to answer one big question: which Hard Rock resort in Mexico is actually worth your money? We're breaking down the rooms, pools, food, beach situation, and overall vibe, so by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one fits your style. Now that I got your attention, let's start off this video with the location and setting of each resort. The Hard Rock Los Cabos is located about 45 minutes away from the main international airport and has a much newer and cleaner feel to it since it was built in 2021. Now, the Hard Rock Puerto Vallarta is only about 20 minutes away from the main international airport and has a much more tropical vibe since it was built in 2012, and it will be going through a major renovation within the next 6 to 9 months. When you first arrive to the Los Cabos lobby, you notice the vibrant colors and the beautiful display of drumsticks that create a canvas of a sunrise, and the overall feel is very modern and new. When you first enter the Puerto Vallarta lobby, it has a much bigger feel to it, and you will notice many different types of memorabilia. It truly feels like you walked into a rock and roll museum, and the lobby has much more space to help make it feel less crowded with large groups. Each resort will receive 1 point per category. This one is a tie. So let's start the comparison with the rooms. The Los Cabos Hard Rock had a much newer feel to it, and if you book 2 beds, the room would be equipped with queen mattresses and a pull-out couch. When you make your way to the balcony, you would have a couch and a small seating area with a table and even a personal jacuzzi. The bathroom was the highlight of this room since it was equipped with dual vanity sinks, and the shower and restroom area were separated so multiple people could use it at the same time. And lastly, both rooms came equipped with drinks, snacks, and coffee machines and would get replenished daily. The rooms in Puerto Vallarta Hard Rock are much smaller and much more dated, but you do get a 4-person jetted jacuzzi inside the room. The beds here are not queens and fulls, which does make it a little uncomfortable if you're a family of 4. Also, the balcony was very small and had no seats to sit on. You were just able to stand and look at the views. The bathroom in Puerto Vallarta was dated and in need of renovations. The shower door was a little old and water would leak onto the ground while taking a shower. Overall, the Hard Rock Los Cabos gets the win for the rooms in this category. Next on our comparison, let's go over the pools and beaches and see who is far superior. Let's start out at the Los Cabos Hard Rock. This location had a number of different water slides, and the sides of the pools here were massive, from the adults only that were nice and quiet to the family friendly that were lively. This location even had cabanas surrounding the main pool area, and they would throw foam parties every Friday and Monday. The vibe here was more of a fun party type and great for people who want to be active. The Puerto Vallarta Hard Rock had a much smaller footprint compared to Los Cabos location. It did have an adults-only pool, which was directly next to the family pool, and the family pool only had 1 water slide. The overall layout was tiny, and they did not have any foam parties, and there were no cabanas for rent either. The vibe here was a little bit more stressful because you would need to wake up early to have a good chair by the pool. The winner in the pool department goes to Los Cabos. Now, let's compare the different beaches. First off, with Los Cabos Hard Rock. This location is beautiful and the beach chairs are always empty, but don't get me wrong, there's a reason it's always empty. It's because the beach here is not swimmable all year long. Yep, you heard me right. The beach is not swimmable, and unfortunately, there were no beach activities or volleyball games, and it was very windy, so if you're a beach person, this location is definitely not for you. The Puerto Vallarta location was a tropical paradise. Hotel guests had access to a bungalow that had free beach rentals, which would supply you with boogie boards, canoes, games, and other water sport activities. The beach here was indeed very swimmable, and the waves were smooth, perfect for little ones, and the water was warm and inviting. They had beach soccer, they also had a volleyball court, and many chairs and umbrellas to enjoy. So if you're the kind of person that enjoys some salt water, the beach at Puerto Vallarta definitely wins in this department. Let's go over some of the food comparisons. Since both resorts are from the Hard Rock brand, they had the same kinds of restaurants. Let me show you my personal favorite, which is called Zen's, the Asian cuisine. The Los Cabos location was a much bigger restaurant, and they had live hibachi tables where chefs were ready to entertain you while you ate. The overall food quality was good, but it did lack presentation and flavor. Now, the Puerto Vallarta Zen's restaurant was a much smaller and more intimate dining experience. They did not have hibachi tables, but the quality of the food at this restaurant was much better, and the presentation and flavors were fabulous. Let's go over one more restaurant. This one is called Chow's Italian Cuisine. Again, both resorts had similar menus, but the quality was much better at Los Cabos location, and the atmosphere was more romantic too. The Italian food was much richer, and it had way more flavor, and the pizzas were bigger and better as well. The Puerto Vallarta location had a smaller menu, and it took a while for us to be seated since the Italian food was one of the most popular choices. But don't get me wrong, the food was very good, but not as good as Los Cabos location. So I would say that the food comparison would end up as a tie between the two because they both had pros and cons. The nightlife and entertainment at each resort was similar, but at the same time it was completely different. The Los Cabos location had a beautiful indoor theater that was enormous, and the quality of the shows were very professional to say the least. They both had the same type of theme shows from Michael Jackson to Elvis Presley, but the aspect really stood out at Los Cabos. The Puerto Vallarta Theater was in an outdoor setting, and the shows, for a lack of better words, were a little underwhelming. Comparing the two, Los Cabos was far more superior and definitely receives the win in this category. If you're enjoying this video and would like to learn more about either resort, I made a much deeper dive video for each resort, and I'll make sure to add the links at the end of this video. Now let's get back to the video and let's compare the coffee shops and kids clubs. The Los Cabos coffee shop was much bigger in size and had a better variety of ice cream flavors. They also had a number of different options from cakes to sandwiches, and the quality of the coffee was way more enhanced. The Puerto Vallarta coffee shop had better hours of operation, and they always had ice cream available, but the flavors were a little boring and they lacked quality. The cakes were a hit with the little ones, and they had an Oreo cake that Jacob was obsessed with. Overall, I would give the win to Los Cabos for variety and quality of flavor. Next, let's compare the kids club. Los Cabos had an indoor arcade area with different game systems to play your favorite video games on. There were also a number of different arcade games to play with friends, but there were no outdoor playground areas available. While the Puerto Vallarta location had an indoor area and an outdoor playground area with many swings and slides, and right next door, they even had a pickleball court as well. I would say the winner in this category goes to Puerto Vallarta because of the indoor and outdoor play area. And lastly, let's compare the activities and see what you can do on your free time. Los Cabos had an escape room where you would try to figure out a mystery, but it was not included in your stay and was an extra fee per person. They also had a small bowling alley, which again was not included with your stay and was an extra charge. The Puerto Vallarta location had an outdoor farmers market that was directly across the street from the resort and was held every Tuesday of each week. The market was a free event, and they had a number of different type of vendors with free samples. the experience was very authentic. Activities goes to Puerto Vallarta because of the free farmers market and the authenticity. And that about wraps up the comparison of the Hard Rock Los Cabos versus the Hard Rock Puerto Vallarta. The final score is 6-5 with a slight edge to Los Cabos, but don't get me wrong, Puerto Vallarta held its own for being almost 10 years older. If you made it this far into the video, I just wanted to say thank you, I appreciate you, and I hope you appreciate my efforts and you found this video helpful for your next all-inclusive vacation. I'll make sure to add links to each video, so if you want to see a much more detailed review in either resort, feel free to click on one of the links shown here, and as always, keep exploring, keep traveling, and thanks for watching.